when the Spaniards came to North Florida in the 1500s, they found about 30,000 Timucua Indians. When the Spaniards left, there was 175. So the Miccosukes and Seminoles moved into the area. When they left, there was 175. But the Spaniards started it. They came to the prairie, searching for gold, demanding what did not exist. When Chief Vitachuko explained there was none, DeSoto put irons on his wrists. Then Chief Vitachuko had a great feast. He told tales across the campfire about the vast riches beyond the Swanee. Told the Spaniards to search over there. Then the Indian knives met the big Spanish swords and were broken in the battle that night. Chief Vitachuko slashed DeSoto's face, but he lost his own life in the fight. When DeSoto recovered, his rage was still high. He said, "Bring all those Indians to me." He slaughtered 1,200, laughed as they died. Then he marched on across the Swanee. The Indians waited, then they came back again to the prairie, and they hoped to remain. But the white men still wanted that lush prairie land. They fought the new leader, King Payne. Colonel Dan Noonan brought troops to a lake. King Payne brought his warriors there too. He routed the soldiers, but he lost his own life, as Indians usually do. For the soldiers came back as they always return, drove the Indians off of their land, fired 400 villages, watched them all burn, ended the struggle Vitachuko began. Now there are no more Indians in North Florida. There's no more land for the white man to take. There's only a prairie named for King Payne and for Colonel Dan Noonan, a lake. 400 years have gone by since that night Vitachuko slashed DeSoto's face. Now white men are living on King Payne's prairie. They're sailboating on Dan Noonan's lake. Bobby Hicks is from Tampa, Florida, seafaring man. Has written a lot of songs about some of his heroes in the state of Florida. And they are wild, rugged people, sort of like Bobby Hicks. So Bobby has written a lot of songs, though, and all the blood of Florida runs through him, and he thinks he is Florida.
It looks like a manatee, too.
Bobby Hicks.
Oh, friends like this, who needs enemies? I used to play every year over on the Gulf beaches and at a certain festival they had, and this song is probably the reason I don't play there anymore. But the dirtiest word I ever say on the stage is condominium. Because if you grew up on Tampa Bay like I did, condominiums are about the dirtiest thing going. Some of them are so dirty they can't even sell it for the whole year. They have to sell it a couple weeks at a time. They call that timeshare. The name of this song is called Condo/Hurricane, a dirty word. The dirty word, of course, being condo, because I have no problems at all with hurricanes. They were not built by the lowest bidder. Come on, Margaret, we'll move down south and get a condo at Indian Rocks. With a pink flamingo on the roof. When I was but a small young child upon my grandmother's knee, she told me tales of ships with sails, a lot of fancy ditties about the sea. I was raised to love the water, I was born on Tampa Bay, back when Stony Point still had oysters, before progress had its way. Well, they filled in Culbreth Bayou to build a rich man's home. They wanted to fill the whole bay in, but natives said leave the bay alone. Government agencies finally stepped in and they said they'd dredge enough. So they moved on over to Pinellas County, building condos on the go. From 10 miles out you can see it all, concrete and a steel skyline, where you see sea oats waving in the breeze amidst the Australian pines, where they cut down the trees and the mangrove keys, and they killed off the coral and the old manatees, and they put parking lots where the beach used to be, and it's damn sure killing me. It's killing you and me. There's hope, which I'll sing about in the chorus, which directly follows the next verse. Pay $100,000 for a condo, about 99 more than it's worth. Talking about how big and cheap and wonderful everything was up north. Well, they don't give a damn about nature as they cut down the last pine tree. So if the hurricane comes tomorrow, it'll be quite alright with me. It'll be just fine with me. And there's a big wind blowing up from Africa, Africa, Africa. There's a big wind blowing up from Africa, they call it a hurricane. Rolling up the coastline out in the Gulf, water's getting high and the wind's getting rough. Big winds blowing up from Africa is gonna blow them condos down. Well, crackers warned the builders in the 60s about the wind and the rain and the tides, but they built the castles in the sand anyway when they talk about the hurricanes died. They say they're strong and solid, U.S. steel, claim they met all the codes, but they're built by man. We'll see how they stand when the foundation starts to erode. And the big wind's knocking on your door. This ain't but my opinion, though I'm sure others feel the same. When you're cutting down trees to build concrete condos, you're playing a losing game, 'cause the glass and the steel and the labor came from the lowest bidder you know. So I think I'd find someplace else to live when the big wind starts to blow, and the hurricane's knocking on your door, and there's a big wind blowing up from Africa, Africa, Africa. There's a big wind blowing up from Africa, they call it a hurricane. Rolling up the coastline out in the Gulf, water's getting high and the wind's getting rough. Big winds blowing up from Africa, it's gonna blow them condos down. Hey.
Tell you what, like your style, boy. You know, I guess every songwriter sometime in his life should try to write a love song.
Yeah, you should try it someday.
I did. And I call it a cracker love song. I guess for want of something else, I'm a cracker, and it is a love song. You're a beautiful woman, it's easy to see. Your skin is so fair, your long hair flowing free. Your smile could bring out the flowers of spring, but that ain't the reason I love you, sweet thing. I'd catch the biggest alligator out of Lake Okeechobee and ride him like a horse all the way to Micanopy. I'd drag a polecat from an old holler log, or I'd roll on my back like a flea-bitten dog for a big old pan of your buttermilk biscuits. Now you are a woman of high social grace. That high-browed life is written all on your face. But we'll blame it on your mother because somehow or another someone sure taught you how to cook good biscuits. You got an hourglass figure and your legs is real shapely. You know, Ann used to have an hourglass figure, but it turned into an alarm clock. Well, I ain't seen nothing to compare with you lately. Now, most folks would say that's how I got hooked, but you know that I fell for the way that you cook hot biscuits. I'd catch the biggest alligator out of Lake Okeechobee and ride him like a horse all the way to Micanopy. I'd drag a polecat from an old holler log, or I'd roll on my back like a flea-bitten dog for a big old pan of your buttermilk biscuits. Now this woman's liberation is even better than it seems. Why, you're learning to do all kind of smart things. If the oven gets broke, well, you'll know how to fix it. You can keep right on cooking them big cat head biscuits. I'd catch the biggest alligator out of Lake Okeechobee and ride him like a horse all the way to Micanopy. I'd drag a polecat from an old holler log, or roll on my back like a flea-bitten dog for a big old pan of your buttermilk biscuits.
Go to E.
Huh?
E.
Why?
Payback.
Get it.
We live in the woods, although I like the town. Whenever I need him, he's never around. Got a house full of critters, a yard full of dogs. On our last date together, we butchered 2 hogs, horse biscuits. You and I have been married for ever so long. I've learned to pick bass and I wrote all your songs. You're a pretty good feller, I won't do you wrong. But them biscuits has come from a can all along. They're canned biscuits. You catch the biggest alligator out of Lake Okeechobee and ride him on your head all the way to Micanopy and drag a wildcat from an old holler log. Roll on your back, you're a sorry old dog. Then I'll bake you some buttermilk biscuits. Thank y'all, I appreciate y'all's sympathy, I surely do.
See how easy it is to get in trouble when you're just trying to do something nice?
I'd like to tell you about my favorite place to go.
Well, I go to the swamp every chance I get. I ain't never found nothing better than it. Doggone lazy, you're getting away. It makes me feel good and it makes me feel great. Take me back to the swamp. Let me go back to the swamp with the buzzards and crows. Take me back to the swamp. Let me free my soul. Back to the swamp and here I go. A wildcat chases a cottontail down. Otter got a frog and it swims around. A diamondback run from an indigo snake where black Florida bear never hibernate. Take me back to the swamp. Let me go back to the swamp where nobody goes. Take me back to the swamp. Let me free my soul. Back to the swamp and here I go. A tree frog cries to bring in the rain, where yellow rats, snakes, rice birds insane. A girl mosquito is the one that bites. Well, ain't that funny? Women all act alike. Take me back to the swamp. Let me go back to the swamp where nobody goes. Take me back to the swamp and free my soul. Back to the swamp and here I go. Well, he smells like a skunk and he walks like an ape. He walks around in the Everglades. Well, I don't know and I just can't say. I think they saw me and made a mistake. Take me back to the swamp. Let me go back to the swamp where nobody goes. Take me back to the swamp. Let me free my soul. Back to the swamp and here I go. Take me back to the swamp. Let me go back to the swamp where nobody goes. Take me back to the swamp. Let me free my soul. Back to the swamp and here I go. Yeah.
I guess this is the Ann Thomas set because I wrote this next song. Although, in respect for y'all's feelings, I'll let Frank sing it. This is a true story. It happened 150 years ago, last Christmas Day. Now, this if you'll listen to this song real carefully and then go home and do some research, you'll find out that this isn't exactly the way it's written down in the history books. But as oral tradition has it, it may be very well be closer to the truth.
For 2 years, the Seminole and Miccosukee had retreated from the white man to the shores of Okeechobee. Now at the winter solstice, Sam Jones and Alligator planned a battle with the firebrand Coacoochee. On the north shore of Big Water, Lake Okeechobee to a marsh where no white man ever went. There they planned the strategies of the land's rightful denizens against invaders whom the government had sent. They cut trails to a hammer, surrounded on all sides by danger, and prepared to make a stand. Cut sawgrass low for seeing, notched trees to steady firearms, waiting for the soldiers to invade their land. The white men said Sam Jones, a prophet, was just a crazy old Indian, but his medicine was the strongest of all men. He made some warriors invisible and others invulnerable to the bullets that the white man would send. Alligator was a strategist who led 300 warriors, united them and led them to the fray. When Taylor's 800 regulars and Gentry's 100 volunteers engaged them on that fateful Christmas Day, Zachary Taylor sent the volunteers ahead to take the worst of the Seminole and the Miccosukee led. Gentry with his sword in hand led his men and fell when wounded, rose again and led him onward as he bled. Shot again, Gentry fell but cried charge on, and the Missourians drew fire from foe and from their back. Crying, bleeding, dying, they stained the foreign water, but pressed on they'd come so far to fight for Zach. And the white men said Sam Jones, a prophet, was just a crazy old Indian, but his medicine was the strongest of all men. He made some warriors invisible and others invulnerable to the bullets that the white man would send. The battle nearly over, Zachary Taylor sent the regulars, and the Indians were frantic, so hard pressed. Foe to north, lake to south, they must break through to Hungry Land. They couldn't dare dance hammock to the west. 112 soldiers were wounded in the battle, 27 bled to death there on that day. Zachary Taylor ever after would be called old rough and ready, and he boasted that the battle went his way. But the warriors had rejoined their wives and children in the scrub when the smoke had cleared, freed by that retreat. To fight another time, they only left 10 dead that day, and they knew they'd earned the victory, not defeat. And it's the cries of Coacoochee you confuse with the wind. The night birds are coming out of the rain. They call across more than a century to celebrate that victory on the shores of Okeechobee once again. And it's the cries of Coacoochee you confuse with the wind. The night birds are coming off the rain. They call across more than a century to celebrate that victory on the shores of Okeechobee once again. On the shores of Okeechobee once again.